Hello, and welcome back to another Tracker video, where today I am going to be building lots of volcanoes on Kerbal, using Kerbal Konstructs map decals that I added. This whole video is sped up, so it might not be suitable for people with epilepsy. So, the first volcano I am placing is the Allied volcano in Russia. A stratovolcano. And I'm going to measure it now. So I'm going to get a runway and then I'm going to set it to a specific length, and then I'm going to measure, in this case, the horseshoe-shaped crater on it. And I determined that it's just the right size, it's exactly to scale. So this one is done. On to the next volcano. Onto the Choshwenko volcano. Excuse me if I butcher any pronunciations in this video. I did misspell it on the map decal. I added an extra H that isn't there. So there it is. It's got a bit of a spiky edge, so I turn on smoothing to smooth it out. And then I adjust the height a bit. And then I measure the distance between the two peaks. So you don't see it, but I am continuously alt-tabbing to Google Maps and measuring the volcano in various ways to make sure that I'm getting the scale right. And measuring with the runway, I got the scale right, but I noticed that I made it a bit too flat. It needs to be steeper. So I made it just slightly steeper, and now this one is done. On to the next volcano. I'm definitely gonna butcher the pronunciation of this one. This one's in Mexico, and it's called Citlaltépetl. Definitely butchered the pronunciation there. This is a rather large stratovolcano in Mexico. So here I am adjusting the position and size and placing it. I notice that it's too low, so I raise it up. And then I notice it's on a really high plateau, so I lower it down so that it's not so high up. Then I go over to it and I do the usual measurements. I notice that there's some spikes on the edge, so I add a bit of smoothing to it. You can see a lava flow quite visible on the map decal. And I'm going to measure the distance between the smaller volcano to the left and Citlaltépetl. So I add a new group and then I place in a runway which is exactly the length of the gap between the two volcanoes. I notice that the map decal is a bit the wrong size. I think it's slightly too small, so I make the map decal slightly bigger. And then I get the size right, and that's Citlaltépetl done. On to the next volcano. I am now placing the Diamante volcano in, I think it's Argentina, this volcano. It's in... Oh, there's 3 volcanoes of that name. There's a caldera, a submarine volcano, and the stratovolcano. This is the stratovolcano. Let's see. I think it's in Argentina, this volcano. But anyway, I am going to measure the distance between the 2 cinder cones next to it to make sure that the scale is correct. You can see one of the cinder cones, if I look at it from a certain angle, you can see one of the cinder cones formed a small low-level shield volcano, and that's Diamante done. So on to the next volcano, which is Fuss Peak from Russia. This map decal also includes a couple of other volcanoes. It includes Fuss Peak and Chikarachki volcano. Definitely butchered that pronunciation as well. And also the Karpinski volcano. But the main one the main one on this map decal is Fuss Peak, which is the one to the left. So now I'm measuring the distance between 2 of the volcanoes to make sure I've got the scale correct. I made it slightly too small, so I have to make it a little bit larger. But now I've got the size closer, but I actually went a bit too far and I made it slightly too big, so I have to shrink it again. And I got the size just right, so now that is this group of volcanoes done. So now I take the screenshots and on to the next volcano, which is the Gamshan volcano, also in Russia. And this map decal also features a couple of other volcanoes, specifically the Komarov volcano and another one which the name of the other one doesn't show on Google Maps, so I don't remember the name of the other one. So I think I'm gonna measure the distance between the 2 tallest volcanic cones. You can see I'm alt-tabbed here to measure it on Google Maps, and then I adjust the size of the runway. The size, I think, is a bit too small again, so I have to increase the size a bit. But eventually I get it to the right size, and I start taking screenshots of it, and that is this set of volcanoes done. On to the next volcano. We are doing the group of volcanoes in Alaska: Mount Carlisle, Mount Cleveland, Herbert, and the other ones. that potentially surrounds a potential underwater caldera. Now, you may notice I've cut a bit of the sides off the island, and that isn't intentional. The height map was really not very good that I was using, so when I was fixing it up, I ended up having to cut the edges off of the island, which created a lot of steep cliffs into the ocean. Anyway, that one was done quite quickly, so on to the next volcano. And this one's another one in Mexico that I am definitely going to butcher the pronunciation of. Iztaccíhuatl. This volcano in real life is next to Popocatépetl. And I'm going to measure it in a bit. So I'm placing in the group now. And then I spawn in a runway to measure the distance between the two peaks. May have noticed a cut because I was kind of dithering around a bit. And you can see I made it too wide, so I have to make it not thinner, but I have to make it a bit smaller in width. In the end, I noticed that because of the resolution of the Kerbal terrain, I can't easily make out the edge of the crater, so I have to change what I'm measuring against from the edge of the crater just to the center of the peak, and I end up getting it at that point. So you can see I've got the scale right there. That's Iztaccíhuatl done. On to the next volcano, which is the Karangetang volcano in Indonesia. This one had a bit of a messed up height map as well. The volcano doesn't look bad, but the volcano next to it looks hideous. That is not what the volcano looks like in real life. It doesn't have that weird peak in the middle like that. It just doesn't look like that. I'll probably show a picture in editing. So I'm going to measure the distance, as I can't really measure the distance between the two volcanoes very easily because one of them's a bit messed up. I end up measuring the length of the island, which I got right. So now I make sure that the height of the volcano is good, which it is. And now I take a few screenshots, intentionally avoiding getting the other one in the shot. And on to the next one, which is the Xudák caldera in Russia. One of the most explosive volcanoes on Earth, or should I say most consistently explosive, with nearly 50% of all of its eruptions being Plinian eruptions, which is like one of the most powerful types of eruption. So here it is. I'm gonna measure it now by doing my typical runway method of measuring it. I've got it the right size now, so it's done. Then on to the next one, which is also a caldera, the Kuril Lake or Kuril Lake caldera, also in Russia. This map decal includes a couple of other volcanoes nearby, such as the Ilyinsky volcano, which I'm looking at, and that volcano, which I'm going to have to look at Google Maps quickly. That other volcano is the Kambalny volcano. Now I'm doing some measuring on Google Maps. I'm at the bottom of the Kuril Lake to measure the height of the volcano relative from the bottom of the lake upwards. And then if the volcano's too short, I divide the height of the Kerbal volcano. I divide the height of the real volcano by the height of the Kerbal volcano, and then I use the resulting number and times the resulting number by the height map deformity to get the height correct. So now I'm measuring the distance between the Ilyinsky volcano and the Kambalny volcano, and now that volcano is done in terms of width. Now I just need to measure the height, like I said I was going to, by dividing the height of the real volcano with the Kerbal one, and then timesing the resulting number by with the height map deformity. I then put that into the height map deformity to correct for the height that was a bit wrong. And now the height of the volcano is right, and the volcano is done. Or should I say volcanoes, because there's like 3 on this height map, not including a lava dome. Anyway, on to the next volcano, which is the Lanin volcano in Argentina, I think. Let me just look that up. Yes, it's in Argentina. Just smoothing out the spikes at the edge of the height map with the smoothing. And there I'm just doing the same measurements from the bottom of the lake. And I don't exactly know what I'm doing. I think I'm trying to find something to measure the distance between 2 peaks. So I find a little bump on the side of the volcano, which I measure between the peak of the volcano and the bump. I've got the width right, so now I just measure the height. I didn't include that though because it took me quite a long time to do that. So we're going straight on to the next volcano now, which is the La Reforma caldera in Mexico. And this height map also includes the Tres Virgen... hang on. Tres Virgenes. I'm definitely butchering the pronunciation of that. there's the Tres Virgines volcano, and there's the La Reforma caldera. Am I going to measure the width of it, or did I already do that? See, I wasn't looking at the editing software when I was looking it up, so I didn't see me measuring it. So now I'm taking screenshots, I think. Oh no, I am actually measuring it now. Here we go. So I'm measuring the distance between two of the volcanoes in the Tres Virgines complex. There's the La Reforma caldera. Anyway, that volcano's done, or a set of volcanoes are done. So on to the next volcano, which is the Opala volcano in Russia, which is a very symmetrical volcano on the edge of a very large caldera. The caldera has a green lava coulee in the middle of it, covered in trees. The lava isn't green, it's just trees. So here I am measuring the width of the caldera. And I've got the width of the caldera right, so I take screenshots of it, and then I go on to the next volcano. And the next one will be the Osorno volcano. Probably butchering that pronunciation as well. There it is. This one I feel kind of resembles the Mayon volcano in the Philippines. It's just a bit less symmetrical and it's got more snow on it. So there I am dithering around trying to measure the volcano. Could have cut that bit out. Doesn't matter. Anyway, here I am getting the runway out to measure the distance between something. I'm measuring between a mountain and the volcano. I find out that I actually made it slightly too small, so I have to expand it slightly. So here I am expanding it slightly. And you can see I've got it right now. So now I just measure the height of it relative to the lake in real life versus Kerbal, like I did with a couple of other volcanoes, and then I adjust the height accordingly. And there's the finished volcano, Osorno volcano or Osorno. On to the next volcano, which will be the Pinatubo volcano of the Philippines. Quite an infamous volcano for a very large Plinian eruption that it did in 1991. A hurricane went... They don't call them hurricanes, do they, in the Pacific? I think they call them typhoons or something. but the storm or tropical storm, one of the three, one of those storms went through, and the water from the rain washed away a lot of the ash, creating lahars, which is what left all those white deposits that you see in the river valleys. So there I am, adjusting the size of it to make it correct. Now I ended up making Pinatubo slightly too tall, so I'm guessing the reason is because it is quite a low level volcano. It's not that tall in real life, so I just assumed it would be a bit taller than it is. So you can see here I'm making it shorter. And that is Pinatubo done. On to the next volcano, which is the Payahu volcano, or Payahui, however you pronounce it, in Chile. The full name is Payahui Cordon Cole or Caule, something like that. Definitely butchered the pronunciation of that one too. That is a recurring theme in this video. So there I am going in the crater, or in the caldera of the main volcano, which I am going to measure. I rotate the runway around and adjust the size of the runway accordingly. I find out that it's the right size, but using my other method for height measuring, I find out I actually made the volcano a bit too short. So I adjust the height a little bit. So there I am adjusting the height of it. And that is the Payahui volcano done. So on to the next one. There I am landing the plane on the obsidian flows that came out of it. So the next volcano I am doing is the Yate volcano, which comes with the Hornopyron volcano and the Apagado cinder cone. So there's the Apagado cinder cone, Hornopyron there, and the Yate volcano there. As usual, I will be measuring it. Now, I didn't know what to measure at first. In the end, I decided to measure height first, and then I did the width measurement last. After doing the height measurement, I measure the width between the Hornopyron volcano and the Apagado cinder cone. And I find out it is just the right size. So that is these volcanoes done. So there I am taking the screenshots and going on to the next volcano, which the next one is the biggest one I'm placing in this video. Not the biggest one I've ever placed, but it's the biggest one I'm placing in this video, and that is the Yellowstone volcano. Now, I wasn't really knowing what to expect with this one, because some of these low-lying eroded calderas like Yellowstone are a little bit disappointing because they don't, from a distance, they don't really look like a volcano. It's only when you take a closer look at them that you'll notice that some of the features look volcanic. Like, if you looked at Yellowstone on Google Maps, you wouldn't probably would think, where's the volcano? But the volcano is a caldera, so there's gonna be no mountain there. But there are actually some lava flows at Yellowstone, which I'm actually hovering the plane over there, which are kind of visible on Google Maps. You just need to look out for them. One of these lava flows is the Pitchstone Plateau, a massive rhyolite lava flow. There I am adjusting the height because I made the mountains too tall. There I noticed the edge of the height map is cut off by another volcano I placed, the Hawaii Big Island. And here I am measuring the width of Yellowstone Lake. Which I got the width about right, and that is the Yellowstone volcano done. On to the next volcano. In fact, the last volcano of this video. And that is the Mount Yotei volcano in Japan. You can see I made it way too tall there, so I adjusted the height immediately. And there I am going closer to it to inspect it and measure it. After a bit of dithering around, I finally got round to measuring it. I got the size just right. And that is the final volcano of this video done. So there I am going to take screenshots of it. So with the final volcano done, remember, if you didn't enjoy the video, to dislike and unsubscribe, and maybe you won't watch the next video.